Okay, greetings everyone. This is First Terrain 753 with the new series that has been selected by subscribers on this channel. And the series is going to be, according to the results of the poll posted this weekend, the series is the Iranian Reformation. We are looking at the country of Iran, capital of Tehran, capital at Tehran, population of 83 million, Islamic Republic, and political tendency towards religious authoritarianism. And our attempt is going to be to make a reform of that. We're going to play as head of state, and we are going to try to change the modern situation for the country of Iran. For those of you that know, Iran and the United States have not been getting along lately, particularly with the new administration for the past 4 years. Under the Obama administration, the United States attempted somewhat of a detente scenario with Iran, in which we had the nuclear deal made between Iran, the United States, and several Western powers, I believe Japan as well. And in exchange for Iran ceasing its nuclear program and allowing international inspectors to come into the country, the United States and other allies agreed to lift the economic sanctions or penalties placed on Iran that had been in place really since, I want to go back until the 1970s, I would say, 1979 with the Iranian Revolution and the rise of the Ayatollah Khomeini overthrowing the Shah of Iran, which was a U.S.-backed dictator pretty much. It was Jimmy Carter who had been supporting the Shah, and the Shah had fled to the United States, supposedly for some sort of medical treatment, which I think may have actually been valid. And Islamic students, fundamentalists, had overrun the guards at the American embassy in Tehran and overthrew the embassy, taking people hostage for over a year. Now let's listen to the update here of what's going on now.
For the new year, the head of state lavishly hosted 100 influential feminists from around the world. The party was in full swing until early this morning. Some confirmed opponents to the current government were also on the guest list. One of them told us that this initiative was beneficial for women's causes, even if deep down the head of state undoubtedly had an electoral agenda. The final word came from the oldest woman in the nation, who stated that she was delighted to be able to dance without being hit on.
All right, that's a new intro for the 2019 Geopolitical Simulator 4 add-on. I don't know if I've showed that before in any of the introductory videos. This is an introductory video, basically an overview, where I'm going to explain the series and what the goals are and the objectives, and maybe do some initial steps. But mostly just giving overview and some background. As far as background, like I was saying, the capital of Tehran, where the U.S. Embassy was in 1979, was overthrown by Islamic students. The Marines there were overrun. I believe they weren't given orders to fire. They may have used like smoke gas or something like that. There's actually a bunch of movies about that out there. And there were American hostages were held for the remainder of the Jimmy Carter administration until I think it was right at the moment where Reagan was being inaugurated, or just after he'd been inaugurated, that the American hostages were released, sort of punishing the regime, sort of punishing Jimmy Carter there. However, that really didn't improve relations with the United States and Iran. In the 1980s, there was the bombing of the U.S. Marine barracks in Lebanon, which is supported by or funded by, I believe it's been confirmed that that has been funded by Iran. And Lebanon is a country that's typically considered to be under the influence of Iran, which is why I'm confused why it's marked as pink. The other one that's confusing too is down here, the country of Yemen, which is currently in a civil war between the Yemeni government, which I believe is being backed by Saudi Arabia at the current moment, contemporary politics and geopolitics. And the Houthi rebels are the ones who are being backed by Iran. So that's kind of confusing, unless these are the Houthi. Seems like that would be me referring to the Houthi rebels, but I am not sure what's going on there. So there may be some historical inaccuracy there. So yes, the United States and other countries have had sanctions on Iran for the past few decades. In the 1980s, there was also a major war fought between Iran and Iraq. It was almost like a World War I in the Middle East type scenario. There was chemical weapons used. The goal was to acquire this area right here where the Iranians have their major oil field, which I think in the initial strikes the Iraqis had captured a lot of this land, but the counter-strikes from Iran had pushed them back and led to a sort of trench warfare style stalemate for the rest of the 1980s. There was an incident in the 1980s where the United States had launched airstrikes against much of the Iranian fleet. I believe sunk half the Iranian fleet in the Persian Gulf. Persian Gulf, obviously, a very important body of water in the world today. Most of the world, or a lot of the world's oil, traffics through here, particularly through the Straits of Hormuz right here, and that is a point of geopolitical tension between the United States and Iran, up to the current day. The United States has many bases throughout the Middle East in modern times, as well as I believe in the game. I think if we go to military, we can find other people's bases. There we go. Okay, so Qatar is one of the few countries that doesn't have terrible relations with Iran. There's an American base right there. French base. There's definitely still some Western neo-imperialist imperialism going on here. We have a naval base here from the United States. Another big rivalry between Iran and other countries in the Middle East is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia basically holding hegemony over the Arabian Peninsula right now through the Gulf Coast Council, which includes countries of Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Oman, and Saudi Arabia, and attempting to wield influence in Yemen, and I believe there were attempts to wield influence in Syria as well by Saudi Arabia. So that is a geopolitical rival, regional rival, for Iran currently, and relationships with them are not terrific. Also, there's Israel, which Iran has constantly argued for the destruction of Israel, and I believe the expansion of the Palestinian state. We will continue to support the independence of the Palestinian state in this game. That's going to be one of the goals. Let me go over some of the other goals before I get into anything else. I listed this in the poll that I posted on my channel, which you can find that in the community tab, as well as I think they will be listed down in the description in this video. But we are going to attempt to have a democratic revolution, which I think is going to take a while. It's going to be my more of a secondary goal, actually. Let's see, presidential elections in 2021. Are there actually presidential elections? I know the country of Iran does have presidential elections. However, there is a council of elders, which is a more of a religious body. These 5 individuals, the Khomeini, or the Ayatollah is included there. And they, I believe, select who is going to run, or at least what political parties are allowed to have candidates, because there are political parties that are outlawed in Iran. So one good attempt at moving towards democracy at the beginning might be political parties. Determining the legality of the state with regards to political parties right now, we have a tolerated multi-party system under state control. So yeah, not really a true democracy as far as American or Western democracy point of view, but they do have elections. But a free multi-party system may be the first step towards moving the country here towards democracy. There's also associations. Let's see what their status is. Associations dependent from state. Associations tolerated and monitored. Associations completely free. That might also be a step prior to moving towards democracy. And I also have to pay attention to unions. Another organization within the game. There's only one union here. Legality: allow a unique labor union under state control. Tolerate moderate labor union. Tolerate and monitor labor unions. And labor unions recognize rights recognized and implemented. So there are steps here that I can move towards democracy before we make any major reforms. I'm going to probably try to stay in control politically, and that may call for me extending terms or other things, but I do want to stay in control of Iran politically, at least until I get things stabilized as far as economics are concerned. Taking a look at some basic statistics, I already mentioned about 83 million people in the country of Iran, a GDP of $430.7 billion. We have negative growth, and there's a reason for that. You can say it. Sanctions. Yes, sanctions are crippling the Iranian economy. And that's going to be one of the original short-term goals, is to get those sanctions lifted. We probably will be able to gain support from Russia and China, who are both Security Council members. But again, the United States and European countries will ultimately be able to veto any attempt at lifting sanctions unless we improve relations with them. So that's got to be maybe a priority. Unemployment is at 12%. That's very high. Inflation is enormous. One of the goals is going to be to extend the sphere of influence over the entire Muslim world. And I wonder if we can pull up a chart in this game that shows religion. I don't know if you can actually do this. I'm going to take a real quick. There's religion. There you go. I never knew this existed. Alright, so these are the countries which are mostly Islamic in the world. What is Egypt not Islamic? Why is Egypt... That's something I'm not aware of. I thought they were mostly Islamic. That's weird. A lot of Islam in North Africa, which we may want to extend our influence there. Some out here in the Indian subcontinent and East Asia. But if you are looking at this, include Egypt, it somewhat resembles an empire we know from the past. Can anyone say it? The Ottoman Empire, right? The Ottoman Empire the Ottomans merged out of the east, I believe the Caucasus Mountain region, moved in through Turkey and took over Istanbul. Another big famous empire in Iranian history, and the sort of identifies the culture and ethnicity of Iran. Iranian people are not Arabic; they are, say it, Persian. This resembles the old Persian Empire, and most of these areas tend to push. Most of these great powers in this region tend to push their influence west into these lands. So, exerting influence over these territories is going to be something that's going to be important. In order to do this, or one of the byproducts of this, will be creating trade unions, free trade agreements, free trade treaties, security agreements, and creating a monetary union of the Dark, I believe is what it's called. The New Dark will be, the Dark was the currency of Iran, or of the Persian Empire. Gold coins that the Persian Empire used as currency. And we're going to try to establish a new one and pull all the Muslim countries into that currency, maybe replacing the United States as the hegemonic currency. Probably not. I don't think that really factors that much into this game or not. It would be a cool addition. Future noted for Everism developers. Creating a global hegemonic currency in the game. Big factor in geopolitics today. A lot of it matters, particularly with the United States and the petrodollar supported by Saudi Arabia. Those concepts are very important in modern geopolitical politics. So, democratic revolution, extending the sphere of influence over the Muslim world, moving Iran to a GDP of within the top 10 countries of the world. Alright, right now it's 30. Yikes, at 431, and we want to go into the top 10, which means we got to beat Canada. Oh my god, 1.7 trillion. That's going to be a tough goal. Another goal that we could probably do right away, early on, and hopefully this will help to improve relations with other countries around the world, is we can liberate, fight for some gender equality. Particularly because in modern day Iran, women are kind of oppressed. They don't really have the rights, they are, I'd say. They don't really have the rights of women around the world. They are restricted about going out in public. For a while there, they weren't allowed to even attend soccer games. I don't know if that law has changed or not. But there are also laws saying that adultery is punishable by death and is ultimately the female's fault. There are laws against homosexuality, which is also punishable by death. So that is, from a Western point of view, that's kind of horrific. It is horrific. So these are some of the reforms we're going to try to make with Iran. Making it a little bit more progressive, maybe not necessarily Western, because we do want to, retain some of our Eastern culture. Maybe I can do that through developing some cultural products here, maybe statues and stuff. That's another factor. But we did have some suggestions. Zombie 445 suggested joining NATO. I don't know if that's possible because I think NATO is specifically required to be from Europe. But making it a Western country, free media is going to be challenging. But I think as things become a little bit more progressive, I may want to expand money for museums, heritage monuments, theater, different cultural things, just to make sure that we are retaining our National Museums, Grand Library. We are retaining our Islamic culture here in this scenario. Criticism of the state is forbidden at this moment, so freedom of expression is a long way off. Criticism of religion is also forbidden. That's interesting. Maybe we could change that. Violence is forbidden. No forms of violence in the movies or in any type of cinema, and pornography is forbidden. So obviously no pornography tax. Right off the bat, let's look at economics. We're going to have to check out our budget here, and we have a total income of $83 billion with total state budget expenses of $90.2 billion, leaving us a deficit of $8.9 billion and a total debt of $190 billion. Now, there were some strategies involving nationalizing sectors that were mentioned in a previous series. I might want to revisit that. Gini coefficient, I believe, 0 is perfectly equal. So this is probably better than the United States, to be honest with you. One big thing we can do early on, and particularly with this add-on, it's sort of geared towards it, is some sort of environmental improvements here, which would include in this state improving the industrial population, improving the tax on industrial pollution, which would give us $17 billion. I think that should cover it. 1% tax on industrial pollution should ultimately cover the deficit. So, and I think it would be beneficial too. So let's go ahead and just confirm that right off the bat. And I don't think... Oh, wait a minute. There's also the carbon tax. How much does that give us? Not as much. Well, it's a flat rate per ton of CO2. $10. I'm going to wait on that, and we'll see how well the industrial pollution tax does. And then if that fixes the budget, then that fixes the budget. Or we can add carbon tax regardless. That should ultimately help improve our budget. Of course, this might hurt the economy somewhat. We'll set to see what the results are. Other people had mentioned the idea of creating a space program, which is possible, sure. Especially as we extend our sphere of influence around the Islamic world. And finally, there is the rights of women. Woman, whoa man, to quote Michael Myers. One of my favorite movies there. If anyone knows the name of the movie I'm referencing, please comment on it in the post, or post it in the description down below. Woman, whoa man, or in this case, woman. That's just a funny movie. Alright, so what do we have here? Budget-wise, allocated towards various ministries dealing with women. Alright, so we have some issues here. Checks on gender equality in the workplace, fight against sexual violence, education policy on gender equality, battling female circumcision. Oh my god. Legislation that we can pass. Determine legislation on abortion. Right now that's illegal. I'm not going to move that. Oh, maybe, let me go back to that. Where's the woman? There we go. Alright, what if I did one of these? Illegal except in cases of rape. Let's just get some public opinion on that and see how we gauge. Public opinion is not good, but it would pass legislation. So the public is actually not very keen on all of this. It does cost us about $1 billion. We're going to hold on that one. Abolishing male dominance of adult women. This seems like something we should try to get rid of. Maybe right off the bat. Maybe this is step one. And whoa, nobody likes this. What a country. This country is just Not favorable towards women. Specific criminalization of street harassment. Come on! Street harassment is described as any form of hostile behavior with sexual connotations conducted in a public area. This criminalization contributes to equality between men and women, the fight against certain cultural sexism, and the freedom of movement for everyone. Penalties varying depending on the severity of the offense and can go as far as actual imprisonment. Come on, let's get some opinions on this. We've got a lot of polling. We should get some more money too. You gotta be kidding me. Alright, so I don't know how to start with this. Maybe the abortion thing was the first step. Legalize prostitution. I don't think I want to do that. Regulate contraception. Authorize at will. Let's check that one out. Wow. Okay, so no contraception. Wow, so this is going to be a tough thing to change. Let's start by maybe increasing some money to fight sexual violence and educate people on gender equality. That costs us about $129 million, but gaining $17 billion from the pollution tax should cover the deficit and that as well. So we're going to start with those steps first, and let's see what exactly happens to our moves, what type of events, information on CO2 capture. That might be something else we could do, because there are some CO2 captures that we can eventually build if we get the right technology. I want to see what the results of these initial two moves are. Pollution tax increased 1%, and money.
Hello.
You gotta be kidding me.
Right. There are a lot of people here. I'm at the headquarters of the Political Bureau where there's an extraordinary session going on. No, you haven't been invited because this meeting is actually about you. I feel that this time around, what you've done is beyond repair. The body isn't happy and the people are frankly not supporting your actions. So, you see, senior officials are discussing your future. The discussion is lively and, oh wait, there they are. They're leaving. The General Secretary's big smile probably expresses satisfaction about the decision. Right. The General Secretary, you know, the one that planned last year's purchase.
Am I going to be overthrown immediately? You have to be kidding me. Good Lord. That is just a disaster. The series might end quickly. If the series does, I'm going to play until see if there's some results of that. If that does happen, I'll just start over. I'll post this video, and I will, do a new video without the introduction, because I'd spent like 15-20 minutes there introducing things. So I do want to just play this through. Let's see here. Let's get some money for some specific sports. They love soccer, so let's just do a little bit more money towards soccer. That's $1 million. Maybe that'll improve things, and we can always go into healthcare and find some very cheap healthcare categories down below, such as, stay away from that because I don't know if people are for that for some reason. We'll do orphan diseases, fight against genetic diseases, fight against cancer. I'm going to try for about 50. No, that's a lot of money. Fight against AIDS. Prevention and vaccines. $200 million. Handicaps. Geriatrics. Psychiatrics. Emergency departments. Maternity. Alright, let's hold there and see if these improvements can just keep me from being overthrown. Oh, you know what else I can do? Maybe they'll appreciate, if it's authoritarian, they might appreciate a good old increase in our budget, military budget. Which means, let's go ahead and buy some missiles. Double the amount of missiles, they'll love that. And we're gonna need missile launchers, right? No, not available. No, not available. Okay. Did I do that? Or did I forget to do that? Yeah, we have it. Okay. Okay, let's see if that improves things a little bit. Keeps me alive so I can continue to fight the good fight here to reform Iran. I have to test things out before I do them in this video series. Alright, this looks a little bit better. Health, old folks, handicap, genetics, fight against AIDS, fight against cancer, public football.
My informants report that the temperature in the streets regarding opinion or view is neither hot nor cold, neither hostile nor openly favorable. People seem to have some sort of expectations that we can't manage to fulfill.
Friday the 4th, forced retirement. Jeez. Okay, well, that was interesting. I'm going to play this over, and I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to post this video, just because I spent about half an hour making it, and I will, accept comments. Please provide suggestions. We will continue with the Iranian series, unless anyone wants me to move on to the Japan series, which was the second most popular option. This is kind of ridiculous, though. I don't know how to approach this. So at least you know what not to do if you're going to try to play as Iran and try to reform Iran. I mean, maybe I should at least get my popularity a little higher. Or maybe I should speak to some associations and some groups and see what type of things I can do to schmooze things over before I start making some big moves like spending money on gender equality education. That's what I got removed for, I think. That's insane. Okay. Thank you for watching. Please post your comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.